Today we're continuing on to talk more about hips. We've been talking about it for the last couple of weeks, and it's one of those things where I have to admit I'm lying to you with the title of this video. It says tight hips, the quick fix, but guess what? There's no quick fix. As you know, with anything that I've taught and anything that I do, and for those of you who know me, it's all about long-term results and being in the best self that you can be in. So if we're looking for a quick fix and we're only doing things short term, then you're going to end up with those aches and pains again, or those weaknesses. You really, really want to build your practice to be consistent, to be mindful, so that you can build balance in your body. So if we're talking about tightness, yes, stretching is helpful to getting some of that tightness out, but it's also about strengthening. If something is short, we're looking at lengthening. If something's too long, we're looking at shortening. So I come back to this all the time, and hopefully it's starting to kind of get into your mind and into your consciousness that you really want to work for the balance of all of it, and it's not a quick fix. You have to take the time, you have to work at it, and consistency is the key. Part of that equation is just kind of knowing what to do and having the right tools to get there. So I'm hoping that I'm providing you with good tools that you find are helping you, and that's going to help you in your process of getting whatever it is you need in your body to feel better: hips, knees, feet, shoulders. So kind of getting back on track again, we're looking at the hips today. In the beginning, I started you off maybe 3 weeks ago looking at getting some of that mobility in your hips from some standing kind of squats or little like sit downs. We also worked on looking at the alignment. Alignment is key. Getting the bones into the right place is going to help you get the tissue into the right balance. It's a little bit of a two-way street. Sometimes you got to work the tissue to get the bone to where it needs to go, but then you're trying to help guide the bone to help the tissue where it needs to go, so that no one's overworking, no one's underworking, no one's locked down. And so we've been working then last week on feet specific, trying to get this really nice articulation of the ankle so that you have good flexion in the ankle, which provides you then with good flexion in the knee and then in the hips. If you're tight down in your feet, if you're tight down in your heels, your Achilles or your calf, it's going to affect all the way up the chain. It's going to be locked down, and it's going to limit the movement in the joint and in the other muscle groups up the chain. And vice versa too. If you're tight all the way up, it's going to affect some of your ability to move down lower in your feet. And you'll also notice it affects some movement in your back too. If you're tight through the back line of your leg, calves, hamstrings, butt, it also is going to affect your back. And then of course it works its way even further up to the shoulders, the neck, etc. So last week working on the feet in hopes to open up the feet, get the feet so that they could then help the knees, the hips. Today we're going back to the hips and working a little bit more to complete that chain. It's always, to me, a back and forth conversation. It's a two-way street between the bottom and the top. It's going to help through the middle as well. We haven't really actually talked much about the knees, but hopefully if you've been doing the work, you can see that it might actually already be helping your knees, because as we've been unraveling tightness, torque in the feet, the lower legs, and in the upper part, hopefully you can see that it's giving you a little bit more alignment and a little more flow in your knee, and maybe giving you even more muscular support around that joint. How I'd like to start today is to maybe just flow a little bit of the things that we've done so far, just to give you a sense of where it can go, get you warmed up for the stuff that we're going to do today. Up until now, I've been working very much in parallel, talking about parallel tracking in that way. I haven't even hardly brought up external rotation and internal rotation. I mentioned it way back when, but we haven't done any exercises yet to address that. So today we're going to get more into that land, now that you're getting a little more familiar with the neutral positions and the parallels. Now we're going to branch out a little bit, and you're going to learn about abduction, adduction, internal, external, and provide you a few exercises that can help with that. So I've been getting a lot of people talking about tight hips. I have tight hips. How do I get out of that? Or I've got pain in my hips, or I'm bone on bone in my hips. So again, the key is we're going to work on getting space in areas that we need space. And part of that, we're going to come at it from a strength perspective. So strengthening the opposite side of what feels tight. And if it feels tight all around, we're going to try to also create strength all around. Not only because it's going to help support the space better, it's also going to bring warmth that you need to go into some of the stretches that we're going to do. With those stretches today, we're really going to approach it from a passive perspective. There's active stretching. Today I want to take us through more of like the passive approach, because sometimes your tissue is in such a default mode, it's just holding, it doesn't know how to let go. So for example, if someone says, don't do that, and they order you around, you get tense. You're not going to calm down and be like, oh yeah, I'm not going to do that. You get a little more tense, you get defensive, you almost fight back, right? That's the same way I see it with the body and the tissues. If an area has been holding for so long and all of a sudden you're telling it to do this, do that, oh, you're so stupid, you're so tight, oh, that side sucks, your body's going to be like, yeah, okay, I'm stressed out now. So you want to be gentle to your body. You want to have that conversation with your body and tell the area that you're trying to let go to be easy, to be soft, to let go. There's all kinds of adjectives that you can use. I'm really big on imagery and positive adjectives that are going to help you in the direction that you need to go. So when we get there, we're going to start to pull out of that toolbox some of these words that are going to help you learn how to let go, relax, surrender into the stretch. Because otherwise, your tissue is not going to shift. It's not going to change. It's just going to kind of hold and block and protect as it's always done. So that's why we're taking the passive approach today versus the active approach, which we might see at a later date. But in the beginning, we're going to warm up, like I said, flow a few of the things that we've done thus far. So I'm going to have you come to standing, and starting with your parallel feet, hips distance, let's go ahead and get the weight to just drop right straight down through the arches, through like towards the back of the heel, through the ankles. And we're just going to take a nice simple sit down, sit back. The arms are going to reach forward for a little counterbalance. And inhale, come up. At the top, I want you to squeeze your lower glutes so it kind of pushes the pelvis forward to get a little bit of extension. Most of us are really tight here, so we got to build some of that strength and the awareness in the back to help the front out a little bit. Otherwise, it'll consistently stay stuck. So you're going to sit down and up. Each time you're sitting, you can sit a little deeper. Exhale, sit. Inhale, stand, and feel that little bit of squeeze at the glutes, at the bottom of the glutes, right where it smiles. Sit back, feel the waist in, feel that neutral pelvis. So here, the sits bones are reaching back down on the diagonal, opposite of the spine and the torso. And then coming up. One more time, sit down and back. And come up, find that little bit of squeeze. Now, sit down and back. We're going to hold this one. We're going to add the shift forward towards the balls of the feet, back towards the heels, almost till you're going to fall. Rock forward and rock back. 2 more times. Rock forward without gripping the toes or clenching the feet. Keep the feet real open. Remember, high five those feet open and back. Come back to the center. And then stand all the way up. This time, elevate those heels up, rise up. Feel the weight through the center of the balls of your feet. Again, without clenching your toes, and then lower the heels down. Again, rise up. Get those nice heel lifts, calves working, the entire legs working all the way up through the core body, and down. Think of squeezing in a little bit through those upper inner thighs, and down. 2 more. Exhale up. Narrowing in through your waist, your ribs, and down. This one I'm going to have you hold up. Keep those heels up, and then from here, sit down, taking it down as low as you can, and then up. We'll do 4 more. Sit down with those heels staying nice and high, and up. So careful as you're doing this. Try not to bow out on those ankles. Stay really rooted down through the center of the balls of the feet and put weight between the space of that first and second toe. I think we got one more, and go down. Take it to where you can. Keep the belly in. This is the dumping point here. You don't want to let it dump. And then come up, woo, and up. And then slowly lower the heels. And then you can just do a little bit of like a prance, roll out, stretch the tops of your feet. So that's just a really nice opening sequence. And then we'll also take a moment here. This is where you need your ball or your half wedge or your dome. You're gonna put the ball right down on the ground. Flex that heel up. So now we're gonna get more into that flexion of the ankle and the calf. Stretch out a little bit of what we just did. So again, you're gonna sit down and back and up. Sit down and back and up, really. And back and up and back. So sets of 5 today. You could always do more. Back and up. Then I'm going to have you, without bending the knees, hinge at the hips, nice flat back for a little bit more lengthening through the back of the legs. You can bend that right knee, stretch the left leg a little more, and then straighten. Then bend your left knee and straighten. Bend the right knee. So this is a little new, a little different than what I showed you last week, something you can add on. One more, bend and straight, bend and straight. So something I want to say here about the kneecaps. You want to feel your kneecaps lifting up your legs, contract your quadriceps, and then fold all the way over and spend a couple of breaths here. Really let the spine drip, let the head drip. Try to keep your weight, again, in the center of your feet, not too far back or too far forward. And then go ahead and bend the knees, let the back get nice and rounded, and then roll up. Let's do that for the other side. So, again, just a couple of sit and stand. Make sure the ankles stay nice and creased in the front as you bend parallel with the floor. So you're not starting to see any roll out in the ankles or collapsing in, right? That's what we talked about last time. I like to tell my ankle, my heel in particular, to drip and drain into the floor. So we got this one more time and up. Then we're gonna go for straight leg hinge, coming over just as far as it makes sense to stretch and lengthen the hamstrings. Feel the sits bones reaching straight back, so your back is straight, and then come up. So keep going with that. If I get to here and then all of a sudden I round or I dump and I can't collect it, I may have gone too far. So only hinge as far as that makes sense. Then on the last one, we're gonna hold it. You can either have your hands on your hips or you can have your arms in the flight position, and then you're gonna bend and straighten, alternating, and that's gonna help to get a few of the deeper muscles through the hips, and making sure that when you straighten the legs, straighten up, not back. You don't wanna lock it out. One more time, bend and stretch, bend and stretch, and then hinge, finishing all the way over, letting the head drip, shoulders relax. Like a waterfall, your body is dripping down. And I just caught my ankle trying to roll out here, so I want to drop that arch in, keep my heel heavy into the ground. Let's say one more breath. You can stay much longer. And then bend the knees, and then drop your hips down to the floor. Roll up one vertebra at a time. Head is the last thing on top. Okay, so that's a simple flow that you can do from the stuff that we've already done. And then I'm gonna add into the mix another standing exercise and a couple of things on the ground with a TheraBand. So if you have a TheraBand, you might wanna get that ready. For the next standing exercise, you're gonna stand wide. Not too wide, but just about halfway between like a hips width or an arm span stance. Then what you're gonna wanna do is press the hips forward a little bit and extend the front of your hips. So you want to just press a little forward like that to get that front extension already, not from your low back though. Yeah, so you got to keep lifted through your core. Belly pulls in and up, back sandwiches to the belly and vice versa, and just push the hip flexors, the tops of your thighs forward. Now from there, you're going to just crease, bump your hip to one side, find the side crease of your hip. Come back to the center. Bump your hip to the other side and relax this side of your hip in. So what's happening is there's the femur, here's the ball of your socket in your pelvis. You have to use your imagination a little bit, but as you're going to the side, that ball is resting into the inside of that socket a little bit better. You're kind of getting to clean out the inside of the socket, which gets a bit neglected for most of us. This is a range that we definitely miss out on. So we're trying to help clean out the hip, get a little bit of range in this direction. So the glute medius will start to get good use, because again, that's a muscle that gets very weak. So again, cleaning side to side, going in that range. One more set, and then coming back to the center. Now step back to hips distance apart, and now instead of moving the hip, we're going to move the leg. So I want you to stand sturdy over the one leg, and then you're just going to brush that. Stay parallel. Try not to turn out right now or turn in. Stay real parallel, and you'll see it stops. It only goes so far. And then bring it under. Shift your weight. Take it over to the other side without hiking your waist. Yeah, so keep your waist level, and then bring it in. Shift your weight. Stand into all 4 points of your standing leg, and then squeeze, brush, or extend your leg out to the side without clenching or gripping. You're gonna feel work happen in the sides of both hips, one stabilizing, one moving. So you can just do this real simple side to side press, a few sets around, keeping everything up above real solid. There's a weight shift, but you're not gonna bend or collapse. So that's your new standing work. Now we go to the ground for some of the passive work in the hips that I have talked about. So you're going to want to grab your TheraBand, and a heavier resistance would be ideal to help keep and hold the weight of your leg a little bit better. If you do have a lighter strap, no problem. You can just double it up, and that'll be a little bit kinder. It can help you a little bit. Okay, so I think we got to go down to the ground for this one. All right, so it's going to be awkward. I'm going to face backwards, but it's going to be better for you to see it. Hopefully you'll be able to hear me fine. So let's see. Hi. Okay, so you want to be parallel hips width to start. Knees are bent. Let's just take the band around the arch of the foot for now, and then hold the strap in a good tautness. The leg is looking to be as straight as it can be, but if it's not perfectly straight, if it has to be bent, that's fine. The ankle and the foot are flexed, and we're trying to be level and neutral, balanced in the pelvis. So not tucking, not twisted, nice and balanced, and nor are you hiking. So first part is just to lower the leg down, letting the strap do a lot of the work, but of course you're keeping your core strong, belly into the back, and then come up to the top. Whatever the top is for you, whatever your range is, you're gonna lower down and you're gonna lift it up. Now the key here is to feel, you gotta tell your bones to be heavy into your socket, or else it usually tries to grip and hold. Allow for your quad to get as soft as it can get, and just let the strap help plug you into your hip. And so you'll do that several times. Usually about 10 is a very good number. Then the next direction we're going to move is going to be through adduction and abduction. So we're going to go across, keep this opposite hip down, create opposition, and then it's going to open out to the side a little bit. Keep this hip down, try not to tip over. If we keep the pelvis steady, it's really going to allow for good lubrication in your socket. So you're going to oppose the hip down as the leg crosses, and then open, and cross, and open. This leg can do a little bit of a countering to help. Or if you want more of a core challenge, you keep the leg stable and just move the straight leg. Okay, and that would be your second variation. So the first one was down and up, flexion and extension, and this one was adduction and abduction. Now we're gonna work rotation. So you're gonna work internal rotation and external. Internal and external. And that's where you really have to talk to this hip. Tell it to stay heavy, tell it to be relaxed. If you need to lower the leg to do so, lower the leg. You definitely don't want to start moving from your hip. Yeah, you got to keep the hip steady and just move from the joint, from that ball in socket joint. So taking your time, going slow. Yeah, so it's doing a nice cleaning out inside that socket. So that would be your basic. You could also do this with this leg straight. You could do that whole sequence with the bottom leg straight. It's going to provide a little more stretch for the different tissue around the hip and the leg. The last thing I want to leave you with is a little foot exercise. So you want to then bring your strap around the ball of the foot and the toes with a little extra strap at the top. And you're going to work on pointing into the strap and flexing. So you want to really articulate through the bones of the feet. Point and flex, and then at the end relax the flex. Don't work for it, but drop into it. Point and flex. Keep the shoulders relaxed, keep the jaw, the neck relaxed, and pointing and flexing several times, and then holding maybe for another stretch through the whole back line of the leg, staying there for several breath cycles. And then you just bend your knees, slacken the strap, come out of that. And it's always nice to just kind of check and see what's going on. Okay, and then of course, you'd want to do the other leg. I'm not going to take up your time doing that today, but you know what to do. In fact, if you wanted to rewind and then play along with your other leg, you could do so. And that would be your passive leg hip homework. Again, keep it in a small range of motion if you need to. Go slow. I went a little fast. Breathe. Allow any extra areas that don't need to be tense. In fact, every area doesn't need to be tense, so relax everything. You do want to keep energy through the leg. That's the difference. You want the leg to feel long and energized and the abs to be connected, but not tense. That's the difference. Play with that. See how it works for you. So some of the other hip stuff that I have is on my website. You can go and visit that at www.wainaniwellness.com. I've also got some stuff up on YouTube, same thing, Wainani Wellness. And I've got longer hip sequences there, or more full body sequences, so you get everything in there. So you can visit there and see if there's any videos that can help you further. And I hope that helps you on that process, that journey that you're gonna take to start to get those hips working more for you. It's a journey, and you wanna be consistent. You wanna work small. You wanna work maybe warm at first, active in some of the standing stuff to get warm, passive in some of this other stuff once you're warm, and then you'll start to see things shift and change and open up, and then you can start to really add in deeper flexibility and deeper strength that is going to serve you and actually last. All right, I hope you enjoy that. Any questions, leave them below. Any comments, leave them below. I'll see you next week. All right, bye.